Hi everybody, my name is Julie Mann. I am a professional network marketer, I'm an actor, and I'm also an EFT practitioner. And today I'm joined by the lovely Emily and Paul Hughes.
Hello.
With their special coffees, with their frothy coffees.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. So I know that you both help frustrated parents to better support their children through the GCSE process. But first of all, I just want to address the fact that on your profile, Emily, you describe yourself as an author, a teacher, tech nerd, mentor, parent, and crazy cat lady, which I absolutely love.
In training. I'm only allowed 2 so far. Working on it.
I'm curious, Paul, how would you describe yourself?
Oh, well, not as much of a nerd. I do like cats, but definitely not a crazy cat lady or man. I like kittens, but then they grow up and then they get slightly violent. So, well, at least one of us does. So, and I don't know, the author thing, I mean, Emily was a genius when it came to getting the idea for the book and sitting down and writing it. I think there's lots of ideas coming from me, but she's very much the get stuff done and get it done really quickly. I think it took, about a month from start to finish. So I can't claim the author thing, but I did have a lot of the ideas, I like to think.
Wow.
So I'm heading in the clouds and he's feet on the ground, and between us, it works perfectly.
That's a great partnership. Yeah.
I can't put it on LinkedIn, but I suppose I could put chef, chief cook, bottle washer,
coffee maker,
run the children around to their various 5,000 venues that they need to be at, to, you know, etc. So
brilliant. Okay, so before we start talking about exactly what it is that you do, how about you tell us how you both met and what led you to starting the company that you now have?
Well, I'll do the how we met, and then Emily can start the company. Yeah. So I've even got dates. 5th of January 2004. We both started teaching at Stanground College in Peterborough, and we were NQTs. It was our first training school, I think. We didn't have jobs at the time. We were still in training, and over that term and a half, 2 terms, we then get off. You know, the way that teaching happens, you get offered a contract. And we both got offered a contract for September. So we started full time in the September of 2004. And we were, you know, married to other people at the time. And fast forward about 5 years, then we got married. And obviously...
You skipped a step there.
Sorry.
We were chatting in a bar at a leaving do
yes.
About our respective divorces.
I thought this was inappropriate.
Which was when the kind of the bonding happened, because otherwise it sounds a lot more EastEnders than it should.
All right, okay. I thought you were going to talk about the motorcycle leathers in the bar.
No,
okay, that's a whole different story.
No, that's a whole different story. Yeah, so that was really it. We didn't look back. It was quite the scandal at school that 2 teachers were dating each other, because kids can't cope with that. They can't cope with you having a life outside of school. If they see you at Tesco's, it's like newsworthy.
Can I just point out though, the scandal, we were long since divorced by the time we started dating. Yes. So there was nothing untoward here. So yeah, the divorces had happened years previously, and then the dating started. So
glad you clarified that.
8 years at the same. I think I was there 8 years, and then I moved on to a different school. Paul stayed there for his entire teaching career and has really only just officially left.
Well, it's my first year anniversary of leaving about 2 or 3 days ago. So even though last academic year I went back and helped out with some A-level classes just on it because they couldn't recruit a replacement, or they didn't, they left, something like that. So I did a few days just to, I don't know, keep my hand in's the wrong word. I mean, it's always helpful. It was helpful because I could ask questions of students who are going through the same GCSE A-level process. It's always nice to have first-hand sample of people who are going through it, basically.
Yeah. So we, having moved on to different schools and things, I had a varied experience of workplaces, and after a bit of a mental health wobble with a couple of bad bosses in a row, I decided that my sanity was more important than my salary, and started looking for ways to find an alternative means of income that didn't involve being in the school system anymore. Loved the teaching part of it, didn't enjoy the politics and so on. So I started off designing classroom posters because I'd made some for my classroom, and all the other teachers were like, oh, they're lovely. Oh, do you think I could have one? So I thought, oh, that might be a good plan. Mum and Dad knew I was quite keen to get out, and Mum found and cut out, bless her, articles in the newspaper about a lady who was doing nutrition supplements or something fulfilled by Amazon. So basically she sources it, she sends it all to the Amazon warehouse, puts it on for sale, Amazon take care of the rest. And Mum thought that might be a good way for me to start the process. So that's what I did. We founded the official company in 2017, but that was originally a website for tutors, for form tutors. So as a teacher, you have your bits that you have to do in the morning. It's not the most fun part of your job for anyone. And we wanted to make it slightly simpler. And that kind of tickled along and did bits. It wasn't ever going to be tickling. It wasn't ever going to be the big source of income. And so I was doing bits and bobs, and I'd set up my my little branch of Lucy's pop choir. Lucy is my sister, my little sister, who's also my boss now, which is just fundamentally wrong, but we'll skip past that. And that was bringing in some income. So it got to the point where I could start actually thinking about not teaching anymore. And we were almost, when did that, it happened, Parent Guide to GCSE happened after I'd left, didn't it?
Yeah.
I had an epiphany with the business where our daughter was in year 5, I think, and there was a Facebook parents group, and one of the parents had put on there, can anyone help with this maths homework? It's bar modelling, we never did this, I don't get it. And I had this light bulb moment and thought, I could do that. I can do the parent side of things. I can definitely do the teacher side of things. Why isn't anyone helping parents with this stuff? Surely there must be someone. So I did my research. Nothing. Lots of people helping students, nobody helping parents. And our boys were kind of in their GCSE period at that point. And it just, I think it had hit us that it's very different when it's your kids doing it. We've done this with thousands of students. We know the drill. We could do it with our eyes shut. But with our kids, different ball game. And that kind of snowballed into what has become a thing that's currently helping thousands of parents who are busy waiting anxiously on government announcements about grades and things this summer, given the whole shenanigans that have happened around exams. So
and it's not just GCSE, there's now a Parent Guide to Post-16, which is launching in August as well.
Wow, how exciting. What an amazing story. So obviously this company, Parents Guide to GCSE, is, that's fairly new, isn't it? You say 2019.
Yeah, it's just turning a year old now.
Wow. But going from, years and years of teaching, in the system that you knew, and, that must have been incredibly, must have been quite a brave move to set up your own business.
I mean, I think it is, yeah. I think we did it in quite a sensible way in that Emily left. And we thought long and hard about, teaching is a really good job. It's a steady income. If you want to be boring an adult about it, then, we were covering all the bills, et cetera, et cetera. But and we did have a discussion about 3 or 4 years ago that if we keep doing what we're doing, then as 65-year-old teachers, we'd still be going, or I think it's 67 you can retire now as a teacher. And given the pace of how teaching is changing, we just couldn't see how that was going to work. So we did have an early discussion about, well, we can't keep doing this. We need to do something else. And that was kind of one of the first things that got us thinking outside of the teaching box. And then, I mean, pretty much when we decided that Emily would go and concentrate full time on the business, it was clear that I had to stay teaching and be the sensible adult earning the regular salary, which was fine. It was good teamwork. It was the right thing to do to give Emily the space, the time, whilst we were still covering the bills, etc. And it only got to the point where this time last year where we could both kind of confidently take the step and concentrate on the business for both of us. So
yeah.
So what were some of the things that you had to overcome to build the business to where it is today? And, how did you deal with the challenges that you faced?
For me, it's been the learning curve. I other than selling algebra to teenagers, hadn't really done anything before. I did the usual kind of Saturday jobs, but when I worked in Next, I was mostly in the changing rooms, taking the clothes back and putting them back out, or I was out on deliveries and things. I didn't do much of the standing up and like, would you like this shiny, amazing thing at the front? Because it's not me. It's not my personality. And so the marketing and sales side of running a business has been a stupendous learning curve. So I have basically just been reading pretty much non-stop. I think I'm on 90 odd business books on the Kindle at the moment, in my little business collection that I work my way through. I am a voracious reader, always have been, and that has made a difference. I've picked out bits from different ideas that people have had, different ways they've explained things, and put them together in a way that works for us. And I think we're starting to get to the point now where we're a lot more comfortable with the way that we're able to talk about what we're doing without feeling like cheesy salesmen, because that's
no one likes a cheesy salesman, do they?
No, and you shouldn't. If your product is good enough, you shouldn't have to be a cheesy salesman, which is the thought process that I've gone through. We have had so much amazing feedback from parents this year that have been part of our first year, that I think we've got over our initial, but what if it's not good enough? And we've realised the difference that we genuinely can help parents to make to their children. And so that's all just become a lot easier because I can talk about their stories now and let them do all the selling for us, basically, because they are our stars.
And that's before the results. I know it's been a COVID affected year, but before the results come out, we're already getting a huge amount of thank yous. And Emily the other day got some flowers, cards saying, thank you, you made a huge difference to, and again, with no exams, in some respects, you might think, well, maybe what we were doing wouldn't have been as valuable. But obviously, we were helping parents to help their teens work harder, work more effectively, work more as a team earlier on to make sure that their results were getting better. And their teachers could see that. So when the teachers came to do the predicted grades, it would definitely have been a massive benefit to have been on the programme.
Yeah, and we did a lot of switching things around when schools were closed, just to make sure that people were still supported. Exams were cancelled, but we knew we still had members that we wanted to be there for. So we've done lots of helping them to come up with ideas. What can your child be doing to prepare ready for when they start year 12? We've done a personal finance series for our current members so that their teenagers can get their heads around things like credit cards and mortgage payments and why payday loans are a really, really bad plan, and all the stuff that you never have time to teach them, even in the maths curriculum. So we've been really pleased with the way that people have kind of responded. They've given us some great ideas, and we've still been able to support them through this time, even though we weren't in the usual run up to exams. So
I was going to say also on our Facebook group, there's been a lot of Emily doing lives, basically where Ofqual or the government, whoever, will come out with an announcement, which in government speak doesn't sound, either it doesn't sound particularly good or it's really confusing. And Emily basically just goes and clears everything up, explains it in parent speak, and gets a huge amount of positive feedback about it. Thank you very much for that. Saved me wading through this document to find out what it actually means. There's one view that got you how many views?
82,000 is I think last time I looked, it went bonkers because it's something that the media have put a lot of spin on. There was one just this week where Ofqual have announced that basically in the same document they said GCSE grades will probably be GCSE and A-level grades 1 to 2% better than they have been previously. And then later in the document they said, but we're massively downgrading what teachers suggested, because basically teachers have all overestimated, because we like to believe the best of our kids. Everyone knew that was going to happen, and that's why they've done all the standardising procedure. But BBC led with GCSE grades to be better than ever, and then somebody else, and I can't remember who, led with they're going to downgrade all of the teacher assessments. And obviously as a parent, depending on which headline you saw, that was either amazing news or, oh my goodness, this is the end of the world. And it didn't need to be. And because people tend to get their news from the media rather than actually going to the Ofqual document, people are getting freaked out because they're believing whatever the spin is that has been put on by whichever media outlet it is. Because, you know, we all have our own biases. When you get information, we put it through our own filters and we believe what we want to believe. And yeah, I think it's been a real privilege to be able to be in a position where I can fix it, basically help the parents to get the right information and be reassured where they need to be reassured and know what to do in the case of not being so reassured. So it's yeah, it's been a fairly full-on summer.
Yeah, well, I think it's amazing that you've achieved what you have in such a short space of time.
Yeah, it's been a bit roller coastery, but in a good way.
Yeah, and we've got our launch coming up in 4 weeks' time, roughly,
Yes.
for our next cohort of parents. So it's busy at the moment.
Yes, we've decided this year to just open once a year. Where the membership is basically, we take all the information parents need to know and we break it up into bite-sized chunks, and we just deliver you a little chunk each week. Just do this week. Here's what you need to know this week. It's basically holding your hand all the way through the process. And because it makes such a difference to start from the beginning and to start from early on in the year, then we didn't want to be in the position of having to faff about with launches halfway through the year and lose focus on our members and have people trying to play catch up. So the membership is literally just going to open for, I think it's 5 days at the end of August. And then that's it until next year. So we're hoping that everybody gets the message and gets in there in time. And then if we get lots of demand through the year, we'll see if there's another way we can support people in between. But yeah, there's
so many plans. Yeah. So no matter how good your marriage is, working together is a whole different ballgame, isn't it? And I know, you know, it's very easy to take work home with you at the best of times. So when you're actually working from home, you know, how do you actually get around that?
Well, I'm going to start off. It didn't get off to a very good start, I can assure you, because with our house, we've got a playroom where all the kids' stuff, but you don't want to go in there though, because, you know, there's landmines and all sorts of stuff. So we were both working in our lounge, and Emily's got this fabulous desk here. I was sat over on the sofa, and you know, we can talk to each other. We can get information, you know, and we know what we're doing when we're doing it. And it was fantastic for about the first, I'd say, 2 hours.
I'm going to jump in here. So I'm sat merrily working away at my desk, and he says to me, "We need to talk." Panic. We've only been working together for 2 hours apparently, and we need to talk. This is worrying. And helpfully, he then follows up with, "This isn't working." What? Turns out, he says he can't work in the same room as me because I talk to myself too much, and he's so well trained as a husband that he knows if I'm talking, he should be listening, because otherwise it gets expensive. And so he couldn't concentrate.
Honestly, every 2 seconds, I was sitting there, you know, fixed on doing something. And I so what was that? Oh, nothing. I'm just talking to myself. So I'll go back to it. And then she starts, I was going to say banging on about something else, talking, you know, enthusiastically about something else. And I think it was about 4 or 5 instances like, no, that's it. We need to talk. Hence the. Yeah. So I've now got an office in the children's playroom, which is still better.
Which we rearranged beautifully, so he has a separated office space now, so he doesn't.
And the children aren't in there as well as you're working your business.
Well, no, I'm just. I mean, the 11-year-old, she's often seen. She sometimes lurks in here and just has headphones in and, you know, watching whatever on her iPad or phone or whatever. The twin boys are 18. They live between here and the mum's house. And, you know, a lot of the time they're not here anyway. So, and one of them's working kind of full time now. So they obviously go to university soon, but they haven't quite left home yet. Yeah. But they're not here during the school, the work day generally. So.
Yeah. He's been all right. One of them especially doesn't like to sit still for more than 5 minutes. The other one would sit still all day quite happily and not move unless you poke him with a stick.
Or unless he gets hungry. But
one will be out in the garden mowing the lawn. He's sorted out the entire front hedge so it looks pristine as it was when we first moved in. He has magical green fingers, but it's nice. He's always busy, and he's always keeping himself entertained, which is good. So yeah, you've been all right actually in your den office.
No, I like it.
You get more peace than I do.
Double doors onto the garden, so we kind of both look onto the garden, just 2 rooms away from each other, which works beautifully.
Yeah, it's close enough to yell if we need each other.
Hilarious. And yes, the hedges are looking fabulous. I was just going to ask you, when it comes to business, who's the boss?
Well, I would like to suggest, obviously, that no, it's not even a discussion. Emily's definitely. She talks about being a nerd. She's possibly, maybe with the exception of her dad, the cleverest person I know. So she's just got so many ideas, and her ability to, I think, complete a project, to close out something, to have an idea and then just go with it and get it done is I've not seen anyone else who's quite as capable. So and sometimes it can be frustrating though, as long as
I would genuinely die of starvation if he didn't bring me food, because I get so focused that I lose the plot entirely. And yes, I would forget to eat for most of the day.
So being a chef really comes in handy as well in your business.
I think chef's a little bit of a strong word, but I'm certainly capable in the kitchen of making sure that she doesn't starve while she's doing all this work. I do obviously work as well, but it's just I'm the one who's suggesting coffee, suggesting lunch, thinking maybe the children need eating, yeah, that's a bit harsh. Need to eat before they go to bed, that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
So you state that 50% of a child's learning time is at home. So there might be some parents who are watching and they might be thinking, really? I thought it was the school's responsibility to educate our children. I'm busy, I mean, how would you respond to that?
It's a bit of both. There is no one in the world who can have the same impact on your child as you can, as their parent. No one. You've been educating them. You've been their primary educator for pretty much their entire life. You are the person who taught them to tie their shoes and to wash their face and clean their teeth and all of the important life skills. You shouldn't have to be their teacher. I know we've all struggled with homeschooling, and it's because we don't have the subject knowledge. There's a reason that teachers train for this stuff, but you don't have to be their teacher to make a difference to them. You just have to be their coach instead. It's that, if you think of it like an athlete, you can be an amazing runner, but if you don't have that coach saying, but have you tried just altering this little thing? Have you tried doing this exercise to strengthen this muscle? Because that will make a difference. That coach can shave so much time off their run or whatever it is we're talking about with the sport. It's that support as a parent. If you know what to expect, if you recognize procrastination, but you also know how to help them overcome it, if you recognize that they're maybe not using the best revision techniques, because what they tend to all do is read their notes and maybe highlight stuff in different colors because highlighters are fun. That's not the most effective way to get the information processed in your brain. And if you know that, you can help get that across to them and make sure that they're doing things, working smarter, not harder, so that they actually get to have a life and they don't get overwhelmed. And that is a difference that really only you can make as a parent.
There can't be a parent out there listening to this who thinks that parents' evenings at school are really productive and really helpful. Yes, you get the results from each teacher about how well they're doing, but in terms of what can my child, how can they be better at studying? How can they be better at work? Whatever it is, that information can't be transferred in the 2.5, 3, 4, 5 minutes that they've got left over after they've done where they are in the class, what the predicted grade is. So, we kind of, I think, fill a lot of that void where we can show parents exactly how all teens should be working more effectively, essentially.
Yeah, it takes away the slight feeling of helplessness that you get, because as a parent, when your child is facing something big and scary, we've all been doing it with COVID, with the fact that they've not been seeing their friends and they've all been a little bit kind of anxious and upset about it all. That feeling as a parent that you can't do anything to help them is awful. It's one of the worst things you deal with as a parent. And if we can take some of that stress away from you as well, then that helps reduce the stress levels in the entire house, which has a knock-on effect. If you're feeling more confident, are more relaxed about the situation, they will be too. So it's something that I think has been lacking. Schools haven't done an amazing job of bringing parents in because they don't have the time and they don't have the money, and that's something that they're battling and is a priority for the Department for Education, is getting parents involved. So we the feedback we've got is the biggest difference, and we're calling it our B2 stealth technique, because very much like the stealth plane, it's designed to deliver small but very important packages to exactly the right place, exactly the right time, to have a massive impact without anyone seeing it coming and having a chance to shoot it down first. So we do that for parents. You can deliver the little bits of information without them seeing it coming and feeling like, oh, mum knows everything again. And they don't have time to shoot you down first because you're on the same team. It shouldn't be a battle. You are both fighting the same enemy here. So
and we've had loads of feedback from parents. We've also had loads of feedback from the students whose parents have signed up saying, I was a bit reluctant to start off with, but actually the information that I've been able to talk about with my parents has just been invaluable. And the resources that have been sort of shared every week, and then we talk about them. It's, sometimes it's around the dinner table, sometimes it's their 10 minutes of the week where they talk school properly to their parents. It's opened up the lines of communication, and that's, it's fantastic to hear.
Because you're not getting the eye rolling and the shrugs, because it's not mum knowing everything. It's, here is some advice from some experts. Let's talk about this and figure out how we can use this to make life easier for both of us. So
Yes, you've got this brilliant quote on your website which says, knowledge beats nagging every time. Oh my goodness. Well, no one wants to be nagged. Obviously, none of us do. But we also don't want to be the nagger, do we? It's really, really unpleasant. So it sounds like what you're saying is that the work that you do really enables parents to have better relationships with their children. And what's not to love about that?
Yeah, if you're nagging from a point of view where you don't have the information, you should be working more. Well, I am working hard, but I don't. It's that constant where you're not working very hard, and it just leads to argument and tension. And whereas if they had those small bits of information that we talk about, where they can talk to their child and say, look, this is something that experts are talking about. It's not your mum and dad. This is people who know, who have been teachers. They've been there, seen it, done it. This is what they're saying. It just opens the doors for their minds to think, well, actually, yes, this does make a lot of sense. And
I guess because, sorry, Paul.
Go on.
I was going to say, I guess there are a lot of teenagers who just don't want parents to interfere. It's very much about kind of becoming independent and not needing your parents. And of course, they do need us. But, there's that kind of push me, pull you thing going on, isn't there, when you're a teenager with your parents?
Yeah, and you kind of don't want them to be right. I tell the story a lot of my mum told me that I should read the Harry Potter books because I would love them. So I did not read the Harry Potter books for like 2 years on principle, just in case, because I didn't want her to be right. And I was actually an adult, I think, at that point. So I have no excuse. But it's an irrational thing, but we do it. We all do it. And taking that away has made a big difference, is what we're hearing. We'd originally started this as just, we'll deliver the information, but it became really quickly obvious that the thing that was making the difference was the fact that it was information coming from outside that they could then work together on, which had helped then bring parent and team together and help build that relationship. And that has been the kind of standout star, I think, of the programme for the last year.
Brilliant. So how do people find out more about you and what you do?
Parent Guide to GCSE.com, nice and easy to remember, or you can search Parent Guide to GCSE on Facebook. If your child is a little bit older, then ditto, but replace GCSE with post 16. And there is everything you could ever possibly need to know on there. We're on I think all of the social media channels. So if Facebook is not your preference, find us on Twitter or on Instagram or on LinkedIn.
Cool.
Or on TikTok.
Loves TikTok.
Oh, haven't got as far as Pinterest. I need to do Pinterest next. But I'm pretty much everywhere else you look.
You'll be taking over the world soon. Fabulous. So anything else that you'd like to say before we finish?
No, just I think if you're a parent and you're listening, you can make a difference. Whether you choose to do it with us or not, you can make a difference to your child. The trick is to work with them, because what you're trying to build is not a kind of an exam passing robot, which is what some schools sometimes feel like. What you're trying to build is an amazing adult human being who can go out and take on the world. And so a lot of the skills that you build through GCSEs, through post-16, are skills that they're going to use for the rest of their life. It's worth taking the time and getting over the initial uncomfortable bit where you have to start talking to them about stuff. But there are lots of easy ways to do it. And the number one thing you can do that will make a difference for them is help them find their motivation. Because if they've got their own motivation, you don't need to nag, which
works. Yeah.
is therefore a winner. So we're actually running a challenge in a couple of weeks now on helping your child to find their motivation, which you can find out more about on the website or on social media. And if you can help them figure out their big fat why, which is what I call it in the book, that's often the key that unlocks everything else. It's all perfectly doable, and you're going to get through this.
Love it. Paul, have the last word.
Well, blimey. Well, I was just going to add to what Emily was saying, because some parents might be thinking, well, there are tutors available for this sort of thing, and there are, and tutors do a brilliant job, but they target just one subject generally. So you can get a maths tutor in, not a problem. You can pay, I don't know, 25, 30 quid an hour, maybe more. But it just focuses on that one topic, that one subject, whatever it is, for a month, 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever, in the run up to exams. But we're much more about the skills for studying, for revision in the long run up to GCSEs, to A-level, post-16 exams, whatever. So, there are, sometimes a tutor will be better for an individual child, but I think because we can impact on grades across the board, we think that what we're doing is well worth looking into. Get in touch, and we can obviously talk to them more about it. The Zoom calls available if people want to get in touch.
Thank you so much. I absolutely love what you do and the way that you do it, and I wish you so much success. So thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank
you very much.